The keys felt cold in my trembling hands as I stared at the empty garage. 3 years of saving every dollar from my part-time job at the auto shop. 3 years of dreaming about that midnight blue 1967 Mustang Fastback. 3 years of watching it rust away in old Mr. Henderson's lot until I finally had enough to bring her home. Gone. The oil stain on the concrete was the only evidence she'd ever been there. My heart hammered against my ribs as the reality crashed over me like ice water. Someone had taken her, stolen her. But who had the keys? My parents' voices drifted from the kitchen, casual conversation about dinner plans. Normal. Too normal. I followed the sound like a sleepwalker, my mind refusing to process what my eyes had seen. Dad looked up from his newspaper when I appeared in the doorway. Mom continued stirring something on the stove, her back to me. The domesticity of it all felt surreal against the devastation burning in my chest. "Where's my car?" The words came out strangled, barely a whisper. Dad's eyes flickered with something I couldn't identify. Guilt, maybe, or preparation for a fight he knew was coming. Mom turned around slowly, wooden spoon still in her hand. Her expression was carefully neutral, the kind of face she wore when she was about to deliver news she knew would hurt. "Honey, we need to talk." "Where is my car?" Each word felt like broken glass leaving my throat. Dad folded his newspaper with deliberate precision, buying time. The silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. "We sold it," Mom said finally. "We had to." The kitchen tilted. The floor seemed to shift beneath my feet. Sold it. They sold my car, my dream, my future. "You what?" "Emma needs the money for her study abroad program in London." Mom's voice took on that reasoning tone she used when she thought she could logic her way out of anything. "It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." Emma, my younger sister, the golden child who never worked a day in her life but somehow deserved everything handed to her on a silver platter. "That was my car. I bought it, with my money." "Technically, since you're still a minor, anything you purchase belongs to the family," Dad interjected, finally finding his voice. "We made a family decision." Family decision. The words hit like a physical blow. I'd never been consulted, never been asked. My own parents had stolen from me and wrapped it in legal technicalities and family rhetoric. "How much?" "What? How much did you sell her for?" Mom and Dad exchanged glances, another one of their silent conversations that excluded me entirely. "8,000, Dad said quietly. I nearly laughed. Nearly. The sound that came out was something between a sob and a snarl. $8,000 for a car worth at least 15. They'd practically given her away. "She needed 10,000 for the program," Mom continued, as if that explained everything. "We're covering the rest." Of course they were. Emma's dreams mattered. Emma's future was worth investing in. But my car, my plans to restore her and maybe start my own garage someday, that was expendable. "Where is she?" "London. She left yesterday." London. Emma was probably posting Instagram photos of Big Ben while I stood in our kitchen, looking at the ruins of my life. The betrayal cut deeper than any knife. "You couldn't wait until I got home to discuss this?" "We knew you'd overreact," Mom said. "It's just a car, honey." Just a car. Those 3 words nearly sent me over the edge. Just a car. As if that Mustang hadn't represented everything I'd worked for. As if those late nights at the shop, those extra shifts on weekends, those sacrificed social events meant nothing. "Get out." I must have said it louder than I thought because both parents took a step back. "Excuse me?" "Get out, both of you. I can't look at you right now." "This is our house, young man." Dad's voice carried that warning tone that used to make me back down. Not anymore. "Then I'll leave." I turned and walked out. Each step felt like I was walking through concrete, but I kept moving, up the stairs, into my room. The walls felt like they were closing in, covered with photos of classic cars and automotive magazines. Dreams and plans that suddenly felt foolish and naive. I grabbed my duffel bag and started throwing clothes into it. I had maybe $300 in my savings account. The rest had been tied up in that car. $300 to start over completely. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. "London is amazing. Thank you so much for understanding about the car thing. I promise I'll make it up to you somehow. Love you." Understanding. She thought I understood. She thought I'd agreed to this. The casual cruelty of it stole my breath. I typed back, "Enjoy your trip. Hope it was worth it. Then I blocked her number. By the time I made it to my friend Jake's house, the rage had crystallized into something colder, something harder. Jake took one look at my face and opened his door wider. What happened? I told him everything, every detail, every word. He listened without interruption, his expression growing darker with each revelation. They can't do that. That's theft. Apparently they can. Parental rights or whatever. That's insane. Jake's older brother Marcus appeared in the doorway, drawn by our voices. Marcus had graduated 2 years earlier and was working construction now, saving money for his own place. What's insane? Jake filled him in. Marcus whistled low. That's cold, man, even for parents. I need a job, I said, something that pays real money. I can't go back there. Marcus studied me for a long moment. You serious about this? About not going home? Dead serious. My crew's always looking for hard workers. It's rough work, but it pays decent. You could crash on our couch if you need to. I nodded. Construction, manual labor. It wasn't the automotive career I dreamed of, but it was honest work, and it was mine. When can I start? The next 3 months blurred together in a haze of early mornings and aching muscles. 6 a.m. start times, 10-hour days under the blazing sun, concrete dust in my lungs and splinters in my hands. But every paycheck was mine, every dollar was earned. I rented a tiny studio apartment in the worst part of town. Cockroaches and thin walls, but it was independence. I bought a beat-up Honda Civic for $800 just to get around. Basic transportation, nothing fancy, nothing that could be taken away. My parents called, texted, showed up at Jake's house looking for me. I ignored them all. The hurt was still too raw, the betrayal too fresh. Emma tried reaching out through mutual friends, wanting to explain when she got back from London. I had nothing to say to her. But I was planning. Every night, I scoured car listings online, estate sales, auctions, private sellers. I wasn't looking for just any car this time. I was looking for something specific, something that would make a statement. I found her 3 weeks into my search, a 1969 Dodge Charger R, T black as midnight, completely restored. The seller was an older gentleman whose health was failing, and he needed to downsize quickly. The asking price was $22,000. I had saved $8,000 during my 3 months of construction work. My credit was non-existent. A bank loan was impossible. But I had something else now. I had connections. Marcus had introduced me to his uncle, who ran a small restoration shop on the edge of town. Carlos was gruff and demanding, but he respected hard work. When I showed him photos of the Charger, his eyes lit up. That's a beautiful machine. You got the money? Not all of it, but I have a proposition. I laid out my plan. I'd work for him part-time, evenings and weekends, helping with restorations. In exchange, he'd co-sign a loan for the difference. Plus, I'd learned the trade properly, real automotive skills, not just the basics I'd picked up at the auto shop. Carlos considered this for a long moment, studying my face. You sure about this? That's a serious commitment, serious debt. I'm sure. What's this really about, kid? I could have lied, made up some story about always wanting a muscle car, but something in Carlos's expression told me he'd see through anything but the truth. I told him about the Mustang, about my parents, about Emma's London trip, about the 3 months of exile and manual labor. When I finished, Carlos was quiet for a long time. So this is about proving a point. This is about showing them what they threw away. Carlos nodded slowly. Revenge is a luxury, kid. Make sure you can afford it. It's not revenge, it's justice. The loan approval took 2 weeks. 2 weeks of sleepless nights and second guessing. Was I making a mistake? Was I letting pride drive me toward financial ruin? But every time doubt crept in, I remembered that empty garage. I remembered my parents' casual dismissal of my dreams. The day I picked up the Charger was the best day of my life up to that point. Carlos came with me to inspect her before we finalized the deal. 440 cubic inches of pure American muscle. Dual exhaust that rumbled like controlled thunder. Black paint so deep you could see your reflection. She's perfect, Carlos said. Original numbers, matching engine. This is a $40,000 car on the right day. I signed the papers with hands that barely trembled. She was mine, truly mine this time. No family ownership loopholes, no parental override clauses. Mine. I spent the next week learning every detail of her mechanics. Carlos was a demanding teacher, but thorough. By the end of the week, I could rebuild her carburetor blindfolded and tune her engine by ear alone. Then came the day I'd been planning for 3 months. I called in sick to the construction job, spent the morning detailing every inch of the Charger until she gleamed like obsidian in the sunlight. I showered and put on my best clothes. This wasn't about showing off. This was about showing them who I'd become in their absence. The drive to my childhood neighborhood felt surreal. Every turn brought back memories. Friday night football games, birthday parties, Christmas mornings. A lifetime of family moments that felt tainted now by their betrayal. I turned onto Maple Street just as the elementary school was letting out. Kids scattered in every direction, backpacks bouncing, voices raised in playground arguments and friendship declarations. Normal life continuing while my own world had been rebuilt from scratch. My parents' house looked exactly the same. Same beige siding, same red front door, same flower beds my mother meticulously maintained, but it felt smaller somehow, less significant. I parked the Charger in the driveway where the Mustang used to sit. The engine's rumble echoed off the garage walls as I shut her down. The sound was deeper than the Mustang's had been, more aggressive, more final. I sat there for a moment, gathering myself. Through the living room window, I could see my mother reading on the couch. She looked up at the sound of the engine, probably wondering who was visiting. Then she saw the car, saw me. The book fell from her hands. I got out slowly, deliberately, closed the door with a solid thunk that seemed to echo in the afternoon stillness. Mom had moved to the window now, her face pressed against the glass. Behind her, Dad appeared, drawn by her obvious shock. Their expressions were everything I'd hoped for: confusion, disbelief, and something that might have been guilt. I walked to the front door and knocked, as if I were a stranger, because that's what I was now. Dad opened the door. He'd aged in the 3 months since I'd seen him, new lines around his eyes, gray creeping into his temples. "Hello, Dad." "Son," his voice was cautious, "that's quite a car." "Thank you, I worked hard for her." Mom appeared behind him, her eyes red-rimmed. Had she been crying, or was that just wishful thinking on my part? "Can we talk?" she asked. "Sure." I followed them into the living room. The space felt foreign now. Someone else's house, someone else's family photos on the mantle. We sat in silence for a moment, Dad in his recliner, Mom on the edge of the couch, me in the chair by the window where I could keep an eye on the Charger. "We've been worried sick," Mom said finally. "Have you?" "Of course. You just disappeared. No word, no contact." "I sent a text. I said I was fine." "One text in 3 months." I shrugged. "You didn't seem interested in my opinion when you made your family decision. Why would you need it now?" Dad flinched. "We know you're angry." "Angry?" I let out a bitter laugh. "I was angry 3 months ago. I'm past that now." "Then why are you here?" "To show you something." I gestured toward the window, toward the Charger gleaming in their driveway. "That car is worth more than twice what you sold the Mustang for. I bought her with my own money I earned working construction 60 hours a week, living in a studio apartment with roaches and paper-thin walls." Mom's face crumpled. "Honey, we never wanted." "What you wanted doesn't matter anymore. What Emma wanted doesn't matter. What matters is what I built from the ashes of what you destroyed." "We were trying to help your sister," Dad said. "By destroying me." The words hung in the air like smoke. Dad's face went pale. Mom began crying silently, tears streaming down her cheeks. "We made a mistake," she whispered. "Yes, you did. A mistake that cost you your son." "Don't say that." "Why not? It's true. The son you raised, the one who trusted you, who believed family meant something sacred, he died in this house 3 months ago. I'm someone else now." I stood up. The conversation felt finished, even though nothing had really been resolved. Resolution wasn't the point. Understanding was. The Mustang represented my dreams, my future, my belief that hard work and patience would be rewarded. "You sold all of that for $8,000. "We can pay you back," Dad said desperately. "With what? The money you gave Emma for London? The money you spent on her program?" He had no answer. Of course he didn't. "The Charger represents something different. She represents what I learned when you abandoned me. That family is conditional. That love has limits. that the only person I can truly count on is myself. I walked toward the door. Each step felt lighter than the last. Wait, Mom called out. Please, we love you. I turned back. Her tear-stained face looked older somehow, fragile. Maybe you do, but not enough. Never enough. Outside, the Charger started with a roar that shook the windows. I backed out of the driveway slowly, giving them time to absorb the sight. The car they could never afford. The success they'd never believed in. The son they'd lost through their own choices. As I drove away, I glanced in the rearview mirror. They were both standing in the doorway, watching me disappear down Maple Street. Small figures growing smaller. My phone buzzed as I reached the main road. A text from Emma. I heard you came by. Mom said you have a new car. Can we talk? I read the message twice, then deleted it without responding. Some conversations were pointless. I drove back to my studio apartment where Carlos was waiting with pizza and beer. He'd become more than a boss over the past few months. More like the father figure I'd needed when my actual father had failed me. How'd it go? Exactly like I thought it would. Feel better? I considered that question seriously. Did I feel better? Or did I just feel different? I feel complete. Carlos nodded. That's what matters. You showed them who you are now, what you're capable of. The rest is up to them. That night, I lay in my narrow bed listening to the sound of traffic outside my window. The Charger sat in the parking lot below, safe behind locked doors and alarm systems. No one could take her from me. No one could steal my dreams again. My phone buzzed with another call from my mother. I let it go to voicemail, just like all the others. 3 months ago, I'd been a naive kid who believed in family loyalty and parental wisdom. Tonight, I was someone else entirely, someone harder. Someone who understood that trust, once broken, could never be fully repaired. The Mustang had been about hope, about believing the world would reward patience and hard work. The Charger was about reality, about understanding that the only guarantees in life are the ones you make for yourself. I never did go back to that house on Maple Street. Not for holidays, not for birthdays, not for the awkward reconciliation attempts that continued for months afterward. But sometimes, late at night when I couldn't sleep, I'd drive the Charger through my old neighborhood, past the elementary school, past the park where I'd learned to ride a bike, past the house where I'd grown up believing in things that turned out to be illusions. The rumble of her engine in the quiet streets was like a ghost story, a reminder of choices made and bridges burned, a promise that some things, once lost, can be rebuilt into something even stronger. They wanted to save money for Emma's dreams by destroying mine. Instead, they taught me the most valuable lesson of my life. That sometimes the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones you most need protection from. The garage where my Mustang used to sit remained empty for years. I heard through mutual friends that my parents never parked there again, as if they were keeping space for something that was never coming back. They were right to do that. Some things, once gone, are gone forever. But from those ashes, something else had risen. Something they never could have imagined when they made their family decision 3 months and a lifetime ago. The Charger still sits in my driveway today, older now, more miles on her odometer, but still mine. Still a reminder of what happens when someone underestimates the depth of betrayal they're capable of inflicting. And what happens when that betrayal forges something stronger than what came before.